we are focusing strictly on oil and gas governance in Nigeria, looking particularly at what it generates. Over 70% of our GDP emanates from crude oil. The same in terms of the revenue generated, it's all from crude oil. And we are one of Africa's largest producers. But how has this reflected in the lives of Nigerians? It's a matter of paradox of plenty. Does this reflect in our lives? And what are we putting in place in terms of moving forward? Of course, you cannot blame government. In the last 15 years, there has been lots of initiatives. We are one of the first to sign to the extractive EITI initiative all over the world. Yes, transparency and accountability. Maybe we saw a bit of transparency, but what about accountability? Moving forward, several governments have come up with blueprints, panels, commissions. One is the one that eventually led to the petroleum industry bill that has been lying in the National Assembly since 2008. Flawed as it may be, it could actually have led to some improvements in the management of our oil and gas. But that is yet to be passed. How do we mainstream this into the 2015 election discourse? How does it start reflecting positively in the lives of Nigeria? What do these political parties have in place for us? What are their blueprints? Because the fact still remains that most of the issues are not going to be for this government. It is the issue for the incoming government to actually deal with. And this is why we have organized this debate today between the APC and the PDP to tell us what is their plans, what are their blueprints beyond their manifestos, how do they hope to implement this, and how do they want our oil revenue to start having impact on the lives of Nigerians post-2015 election.
Nigeria is said to be the 6th largest oil producer in the world, the 2nd in Africa after Angola. As the proceeds of the oil and gas sector petered down to the ordinary Nigerian, what do the political parties have in their manifestos as far as resource management is concerned? We know in Nigeria that most times persons get into power using the party program and manifestos, but ultimately do not even make reference to those manifestos when they begin to govern. But what will be the situation after the 2015 elections? These are the issues we'll be looking at on the program today. What is your party's agenda as far as resource utilization and management is concerned in the oil and gas sector?
The first thing we intend to do as a political party is to, first of all, ensure full participation of Nigerians in whatever policies that we want to bring about in the oil and gas industry. It's true that under the military, even though it was not a participatory democracy, they came along with some very progressive policies on oil and gas. In particular, if you look at the deep offshore and the basins decree of 1992, which led to discoveries of, such as Bonga, Apo, and Era. They got it right. But of course, they also got wrong the decree on gas flaring, when they made the mistake of giving the same benefits to gas associated with production in non-flaring to those non-associated. And today we have this kind of, we still have the situation of gas flaring. The democratic setup, we have the National Assembly, which will provide a platform for everybody to make its input into how our oil and gas industry is going to be organized. This should be a platform where experts, people who have the know-how, would come and exchange views. Unfortunately, what we've had in the last couple of years, especially if you look at the PIB industry, the PIB bill, we have not been able to take maximum advantage. In particular, and I think we must all accept this, one major reason why we have not made any headway, I think, is because of the massive corruption in this industry. So what do we tend to do as a political party? The first thing is that you need to completely unbundle the NNPC and make NNPC like other national oil companies, concentrate mainly on operation and regulatory. Create a new regulatory body out of the NNPC and the present DPR, and let NNPC focus only on operating our oil fields. It is so sad that we are in the same category as Saudi Arabia, in the same class as Angola. Yet when you look at the Saudi Arabia oil company, they are not just collecting rent; they are actually, operating. By now, the national oil company should be operating oil fields. We should have a different arm who will be regulating.
Today, the old strategy, Nigeria was run by the soldiers like Rome. You conquer and you plunder. And we said, no. The right thing is use that raw material, which is the oil and gas, to provide not only employment for your people, and that was what informed our intention to remove the meddling hands of government in the petroleum business through subsidy. When we did that, it was the opposition that massed up with those who gain to also stop this. The intention is this: if you give those crude to local available refining companies, it will bring a lot of raw materials from just about 107 different byproducts. It will not only do that, it will provide jobs. It will also grow activities economically within our country. Those byproducts that will come from the local processing of crude will provide its own ancillary industries, which will also create jobs for us. Now, this is the main issue about removal of government's involvement in distribution of petroleum products. But of course, as you've known, the opposition lined up with those who've been gaining from this thing, very powerful persons. And what did? They stopped that. We still do have a mind of allowing the petroleum available. Let the free industry do it. Till tomorrow is still the best thing for us. You can see after they succeeded in stopping the government making that subsidy to be removed, what happened? We're still where we are. This economy can afford 100 naira per liter. This economy can, in my village, petrols are sold for about 105, 110, and I buy it, and people don't complain. But in the major cities, these things are there, maybe regulated. How many of the poor people live in the major cities? And that's why we believe what you should do, use the crude that Nigeria owns to create jobs in Nigeria. Because if that happens, what would you do? The ancillary industries will employ Nigerians, an increase in GDP, more money to the federation account, more money to be shared to those states who depend solely on the federation account's sharings. A boom boom for all, and everybody's happy. But because of people are afraid of change, they fight every government's intention to do that right thing.
The Minister of Petroleum today, and it does not matter who that fellow is damn too powerful. The revenue of NNPC, of the oil and gas today, is domiciled in NNPC with only one person, that is the minister, to manage. We will break that. Today, NNPC is both operator, is both regulator. Today, there's little or no transparency in NNPC for the simple reason that they will only give you what information they want you to know. So, for anybody to be sincere about reforming in the oil and gas sector, you must unbundle NNPC. And in bundling NNPC, there are 3 or 4 major departments. That is the operation. There's the regulation. Then there's the commercial aspect of the oil and gas industry. Forget the commercial aspect. That is political and it's commercial. But focus as an NPC on just these 2 issues, which is 1, the operation, and 2, the regulation. Now, how does this affect all of us? It affects all of us because if 80% of all our resources come from the oil and gas industry, it means that the well-being of that industry is our well-being.
We are very happy to state today that there is a lot of Nigerian involvement in oil and gas. It is a known opportunity, it's a known fact. Next Oil, you know what they do. We want to create more Next Oils. Today, we want more people who are outside the oil industry, and that's why you're seeing the local content bill has been available, because this is the number one thing keeping Nigerians away. Provide them with that tool through legislation so that they can. So we will continue to fight to make sure the PIB bill goes through, because a lot of the things we're talking, complaints and challenges in the oil industry, are being addressed through the contents of that bill. We will continue to fight and work assiduously with the legislature to make sure that the PIB bill is passed, but not just passed with the content that will bring benefits to not only the larger population of Nigerians, but also the people that suffer the exploitations in the Niger Delta. And that's why we are in agreement with the suggestions of 10% of the excess profit made by the oil majors to be given back to the local communities where these exploitations bring a lot of problems. As you can see in the papers, Shell, after a very long period, agreed to pay about $88 million to the communities that have suffered. But a lot of communities have suffered in this. And we believe the past was not fair to Nigeria.
Many experts in the field have said that that bill as it is, if passed, would indeed create a lot more problems in the oil and gas sector than there are today. For instance, that bill seeks to make a superhuman being out of a minister of oil, minister of petroleum resources. And that bill also does not give room for much of local participation. The participation of the local people, particularly in the oil producing areas, in the business of the exploitation and exploration of these mineral resources.
When these things you've raised up are noticed and pointed out by experts, what you do, you change the papers to add those things that will bring benefit to our people. That's why it's a legislation. Before now, only soldiers and the oil majors wrote the bills. Shell used to say how much it would pay us as tax. But that's why we are building a format where everybody's input is protected in it. So nothing in the bill is final.
What will be your party's attitude towards the PIB bill as it is today, as it is before the National Assembly?
But don't forget, what is the origin of PIB? It started when, I think 2000, when the government set up this Oil and Gas Implementation Committee. From there was this oil and gas policy. And the whole idea of the oil and gas policy, which became the oil bill, is to accrue more money to Nigeria, give more initiative to Nigerians, create more jobs. But because of the politics, because of the corruption in the industry, 6 years on, the PIB today, if you see it, it does not resemble the original one. And I hate to say this, 2008, with all due respect, the so-called opposition, they were a minority in government, in the National Assembly. Because in 2008, we had AC, we had the NPP, we had all of us combined together, did not even make 33% of the National Assembly. So to apportion the blame to the opposition, I think is very wrong. And I'm happy that we're not doing that. Now, what we need to do is that when we get to power by the grace of God, we want to look at what is the PIB before the National Assembly today. Because what we have today is not what we want to develop the industry.
Now, what is your and your party's evaluation of the institutions that are in place to promote transparency in that sector? Here, we could quickly mention NAITI.
We know corruption is a massive challenge to Nigeria. And that was why we said it does not make sense to have government control and try to say this. No, because where would you bring the people that will run this thing? Still not same Nigerians. And we said there is no need keeping everything to government. Let the thing become free. That was the real reason behind the removal of subsidy. Because once you bungle everything and give it to Nigerians, yes, you might put a man very honest at the top, but because he does not historically know what goes downstairs, the Nigerian effect will come in. Leave it to the private sector. Company A versus company B come there to compete. Nobody will keep quiet and the other man cheats him. We intend to not just unbundle, remove government's involvement in as many industries as possible, and that's why you've seen we've continued to privatize. And I believe government should not be running refineries. No, government should only regulate. Government should not be doing explorations. No, government should only regulate. And that is our intention. We will continue to do those things that we are doing because we know it's not a matter of finding a man and saying he's very honest, he has goodwill. No, because those underneath him will, of course, undermine things. We know the history.